In the previous classes, we had been discussing about a new concept called language integrated query, which is LINQ. And I told that we'll be starting with the program today. So I'm going to start with language integrated query with SQL in order to perform CRUD operations again. But then this time, please note, even though I told you about ADO.NET and LINQ, right now, as we move on further, we expect people to look into entity framework, which is our next chapter. Okay, even though I'm going to discuss about connected, disconnected, and language integrated query in this class, I expect you to look a little bit more further, or whenever you do projects, I expect you to work with entity framework, which is what we are going to discuss after LINQ is over. So for today's class, what we are going to do is we are going to start with language integrated query. All right. So let me just create a new project. In the meantime, I can explain what, while it is loading, I can take up what is language integrated query in a short form. So I'm going to start with ASP.NET web application using .NET framework in C#. I'm going to create a project. Okay, let me name it as LINQ. Okay, LINQ demo or LINQ, let's say CRUD. Okay, and let me just click on create, and let's start with a web application. Okay, a web forms application, and let me remove this configure. Okay, just a simple web forms application, and let me click on create. Okay, I hope you guys remember what is language integrated query. We are trying to avoid SQL and write the entire data manipulation using just the programming language itself. In our case, the programming language we are going to deal with is C#. So we are going to use C# in order to manipulate data instead of using SQL, which we normally use to manipulate database related operations. Okay, so since this program is going, I mean, already you know how the program works. Only thing I'm going to do in this particular project is the code will be changed. Okay, so in the last two sessions, connected and disconnected, I created two different projects. Okay, how I have done that project is exactly how I'm going to do this project. Only thing I'm going to change is the code. Okay, instead of writing select, update, single quote, double quote, all those issues, I'm going to convert that entire thing into a language integrated query so that I can just write C# code instead of bothering about SQL and the syntax of SQL, etc, etc. Okay, so just a revision of how language integrated query works. Okay, how the syntax looks like. Okay, the syntax starts with from. Okay, the keyword is from, then range variable, any variable you can give, in the next keyword, and then you have the collection, whatever collection you're going to talk to. Okay, sometimes it will change, like right now I'm going to use database as the collection, and then you have conditions where group by, order by, etc, etc. Finally you can do select. Okay, so normally how you write SQL query is select something from somewhere where all these conditions are satisfied. Here we say where the data collection is first, so from where, okay, what in what, okay, and then you give the conditions, then you say retrieve. All right, so that's how programming works. So let's jump into the program. So before I begin, I'm going to do this part quickly, guys, because I guess by now you're familiar with it. I'm going to create a new database first. This is my project. This is a web forms project which already has about contact us and home page, etc, using master page concept. I'm going to add a new database. Okay, so let me create a new item, and let me choose the word data from this side, and let me choose an SQL Server database. Okay, the reason why I'm using server database file in all my programs right now is because I don't want you to install extra one SQL Server. If you already have SQL Server, please do use that, not a problem. But this is coming along with Visual Studio, so there's nothing extra to be installed. And when you come for an exam here to the college also, probably the lab will also have the same thing. They will not have SQL Server separately. So that's why I'm taking SQL Server database, but doesn't matter which data you use. Okay, for LINQ to SQL Server is like more recommended. All right, but then when it comes to ADO.NET and entity framework, database does not matter. Anything is fine as long as the connection string is proper. Okay, so I'm going to use this, and let me just take it as, let's say, I think I've already finished. Okay, let me just take employee db.mdf. Okay, so I'm not going to change that MDF because it's not required. I just leave it as employee db. System will automatically add the .mdf for you. So employee db is the file name. I'm clicking on add, and it says that this is a special type of file, so you should put it inside app_data. Yes, let me put it inside app_data, and then once the database has been created, it should come to the server explorer. Okay, I'm not going to explain much about this, guys, because I guess I've done it enough. So let me just go to Server Explorer and let me create a table. So first thing, I'm going to open the database, employeedb.mdf. Once it is ready, I'm going to go to the tables tab and add a new table. Okay, so I have the table design here. Let me just change the table name from just the name table. Okay, please don't forget this, because if you forget this, your table name will be table. Okay, so let me just change it, TBL employee details. Okay, I wanted to focus on the way in which I've named it, guys. Okay, this might not be the same way everybody follows, but you see that I've used a plural word, details. Okay, I'll tell you why this is important later, but then remember, I've just put it as details because this collection, this is a collection of details, right? So it's plural. So I put like that. Let me just continue here. I'm going to put underscore ID. Okay, let it be into data type. Okay, all those things. I'm going to say underscore name, which is going to be varchar, and I'm going to say underscore designation, which is also going to be varchar, and last one I'll just say joining year. Okay, so I'm going to say DOJ, date of joining, or let's say year of joining. Okay, that's enough. So with that, I'm going to stop with this. Let me just say no null values are allowed, and I'll make sure that the employee ID is auto increment also. So let me go to the properties, identity specification. I'm going to say yes, true. So you can start the seed of the identity from 101. So I'm going to say, or let's say just 100. From the employee ID will start from 100, not from 1. Okay, that's fine. Done. So I've done with this. Now, once you have done this, I'm going to click on update, which is here, so that this database structure what I've created should be updated to the database. So once the script is ready, I'm going to click on update database. Okay. Once it is ready, you should just see whether it is available in TBL employee details. Here it is. So let me just click on say show table data. I should be able to see whatever data is currently there, which is nothing. Let me just add a few. So let me just add a data called one employee name I'll add. Let's say manager 2010. Okay. 2010. Okay. So now the data has been inserted. So I have one record. The first record is 100. So that is my first employee. I've just put one data, remaining I'll do it through the programming code. Okay, so this is my work here with respect to database. Okay, this normally in programming or normally in real world, you will not be doing, which the system or the admin should be doing for you. Okay, but when you're practicing, you should be able to do with this. Okay, so anyway, once this table design is done, let me go back to my code. Now I'm going to write different blocks of code. Okay, one to retrieve, one to insert, one to update, one to delete. Okay, so first I'm going to create the retrieval part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link all those things in the master page. So first let me just run the program or whatever is there right now. You see that this is the template which ASP.NET or Visual Studio gives you. Okay, in this template what we see is we just see a simple hello world. Okay, which you have home page, about page, contact us page, etc. Now I'm going to modify that so that I have all these links on the main page. So let's see how to do that, and then we'll go to the program. Okay, so here when the page runs, you see that there is a home, about, and contact are as a menu which is there in the master page, which means if I go to home, about, or contact, that master page content will still be there. Also the footer will still be there. Okay, so let me see how to modify it according to our website. Okay, so first let's note that this is my brand or the logo of my app, my website, whatever you are doing. You will replace this application name with your actual application name. Okay, as well as you can even put a logo or an image which will be considered as the brand of your website. Okay, then you have home, about, contact, etc. So please note this part, the black strip which is on the top is actually content of master page. And at the bottom, what you see, copyright 2020 my ASP.NET application, that belongs also in the master page in the footer section. Okay, so this part what you see is only coming from the default.aspx. So when I click on about, you can see again the master page top content is there, master page footer content is there. Only this part is getting changed. All right, so I would like to add some options here. Okay, I would like to add like display, insert a new record. Okay, like that. I would like to change this. Where should I go? I should go to the master page. So let me stop the program. Let me go to the master page, site.master. let me just open up site.master, and when I do that I get this big file. Okay, so I'm going to find where they have added all these things. You can easily find that out. Okay, see here, application name, I'm going to change it as employee admin. Simply just because I'm doing the admin part of an employee details. So I have home, about, contact, everything. Let me just add a new information. Okay, so let me just add display. Let me create another link which will say, okay, please note it's a list item. This is modified by CSS in runtime. So anyway, I'm going to change that. I'll find what is my file name. I'll be creating a file name called display shortly. Okay, so this is my what do you call, or I can just say view employees. Okay, I can just give whatever I want. This will be a link which will take me to display.aspx. Okay, so I've done this. Let me go back. Let me now create a new file, display.aspx. So let me just go add a new web form with the master page. Okay, let me give the name as display and click on OK. Site.master will be the master page of display.aspx, and I've got my page. So if when you click on view employees, I'm supposed to open display.aspx, which is this file. Let me go to this design of display.aspx, and let me put one label. Okay, so I'll just put a label which will tell list of employees. Okay, so I'm going to put the text as list of employees. Okay, and I'm going to change the size of that text to a little bit bigger, so that let's change the size, large. Okay, so this is done. If you want, you can change the color also. I'm going to leave it up to you. So the next thing I'm going to put is a grid view. Okay, which is a data control, and I'm going to just use the grid view. Okay, so I put a grid view. The first thing I'm going to do is go to its property, change its ID. I'm going to put GV employees. Okay, this is grid view for employees data. And the next thing I'm going to do is give CSS class. So I'm going to give CSS class as table hyphen hover. Okay, table hyphen bordered. Okay, you can give whatever you have as bootstrap classes. That's done. So my table is ready. Also, I would like the column names to come properly. I hope by now you know how to do the column names. If I right now run, the column names will be emp underscore id, emp underscore name, like that it will come. I would like to fix that by just clicking on this. I'll just say edit columns. Okay, and I'm going to add a column. You have to remove this checkbox auto generate. I've done this already in previous classes. Please do refer to those videos. Okay, I'm going to add a bound field, and first I'm going to say what is the readable or the text what will be seen to the user. Okay, header text. I'm going to say employee ID. Please note it's full word with space and all those things. But actually the data is coming from a column called emp underscore ID. Only this thing I need to match. Header text, what the user will see will be employee ID, but what data field in the database is emp underscore ID. Done. So let me add another one. Same thing, header text will be employee name. Okay, from the data field it is emp underscore name. One more, I'll add designation, but in data field it is emp underscore designation. Last one is year of joining. Data field I'll put emp underscore YOJ. Done. So I have 4 columns. Let me click on OK, and these are the 4 columns, and the value will be coming from my query. Okay, so with this work here is done. Now let's go to the code part. Let me go to the code part of the same file, display.aspx.cs. Now, how am I supposed to write? Okay, just imagine how we were writing for Microsoft SQL. Okay, when you use ADO.NET, first you have to establish connection, then you have a lot of keywords to be remembered there. Okay, but when it comes to LINQ to SQL, you have to create a LINQ to SQL class first. Okay, please note it is not database. Database is not at all the concern of your language integrated query technologies or entity framework technologies. Alright, the idea is to write it in C#, which means I have to convert my database table into a namespace class. I hope you guys follow. Okay, what is a namespace? A collection of classes. What is a database? A collection of table. Okay, what is the class equivalent to in database? Table. I hope you guys get the flow there. All right. So let's start with creating a link to SQL class. All right. So let me just tell you one more thing. The small information about this link to SQL is not by default available in 2019 onwards. If you are using Visual Studio 2015 or 17, it will be inbuilt. Okay, but if it is not available, like how I'm going to show you right now, if it is not available, I'll tell you how to it's just 2 MB. You can install it with internet which you have. Okay, let me just show you. You have to go to Solution Explorer, right click on the project, okay, and say add. When you click on add, just choose new item. Okay, please choose new item. When you choose new item, you have this dialog. In that one, I want you to look for in this list, big list which is available, search for something called link to SQL classes. Okay, so normally it should be categorized under data field. So I'm going to click on data and I have link to SQL classes. Okay, guys, if you are working with your laptop right now, you can just check whether this is available. If it is not available, I'll tell you how to add it. Okay, so before I proceed, let me just tell for people who do not, because 2019 Visual Studio Community Edition or Enterprise Edition, whatever you have, by default when you install, I have forgotten to tell you to install this along with it, but anyway, it's not a big deal. I'll show you how. Okay, so if it is not available, if you cannot find a template called link to SQL which is not available, okay, let's do this. You will have to go to tools. Okay, I'll just zoom in there on Visual Studio. Okay, by the way, you are supposed to be what do you call you are supposed to run this particular Visual Studio IDE as a administrator. Okay, without which it will not work. Okay, so you'll have to choose something called tools. Okay, so you're supposed to choose the option called tools and then click on get tools and features. Okay, I'll repeat again, tools, get tools and features. Choose that. Okay, when you choose that get tools and features, Visual Studio installer will open up. Okay, please note Visual Studio installer will open up. If you have not updated, it will ask you to update. You have to update to proceed. Okay, this is for people who have installed 2019 Community Edition. Okay, even if it is Enterprise Edition, you will have the same thing, but you will have to install if it is not available. All right, people, those who already have it, don't do this. It's not required. If you already have link to SQL classes, this is not required, but for people who do not have, that option is not available, then you have to do this. Okay, once this is coming up, you have to go to the second tab here, individual components. Okay, not workloads, you have to choose individual components, and in that individual components, I want you to search for LINQ, language integrated query. Okay, please note that the checkbox is already checked in my case because I have already installed, but if it is not available in your Visual Studio, check this. Okay, if it will be unchecked, check this and click on modify. It will come here as modify, click on submit. It requires 2 MB. Okay, so it's not a big deal for you. Just click on submit and then it will install, and it will ask you to restart Visual Studio in administration mode because it is an installation. So it will ask you to restart the IDE with admin mode. You just say continue. Okay, do not give retry, say continue and restart the Visual Studio with admin privilege. It will automatically do. You just need to click on continue. And once this has been installed, okay, go back to your Visual Studio and check. After installation, everything is done. You can go back to Visual Studio and go to Solution Explorer, right click on your project, add a new file and look for link to SQL classes. In the data section, look for link to SQL classes. File extension is .dbml. Okay, please note the file extension of a link to SQL class is .dbml. Okay, database markup. Right, so it will be converting your entire database, whatever you have, database or table which you have, into something which is a class diagram or into classes in C#. I'm repeating it again. Link to SQL classes, basically what it helps you do is to convert a database table which you have into a C# class without even writing one line of code. So let me just show you how to do that. I'm going to name this as employee LTS. link to SQL, so that I know this is the link to SQL class. Okay, so, or you can just put LTS employee. You can, however you want, you can choose. So I'm just going to name this link to SQL class as employee LTS and then click on add. Okay, so just add that to your project. When you are done with this, you will just get a blank page like this. Okay, this is called as an object relational designer. Okay, please note the one which you are seeing right now is called an object relational designer. What is object relational mapping? Okay, I've discussed this in the last class. Okay, please remember, object oriented programming language is mapped to a relational database. We call them as object relational mapping. Okay, this is an object relational designer. You can easily just drag and drop your table and convert it into a class. Let me show you. Now I have created, please note what I did in the beginning. I created a database. Okay, then I created a link to SQL class. Okay, it's as simple as just clicking on yes, next, okay, done. So here I have a DBML file which has employee LTS. Okay, that's all. Now I'm going to my server explorer, and I'm going to do, just look at this, what I'm doing. I'm going to drag and drop this table which I have created. Okay, I'm just going to drag this table which I have created and drop it in my object relational designer. Okay, the moment I drop it, what happens here, if you can just see this. Okay, what has happened? Okay, it has converted my table into a class. By the way, this is a class diagram. I hope you guys remember. Okay, so I've converted that database table into a class. There I wanted to notice something which is missing. Okay, in my table name, I'd given it as TBL employee details, plural. When the class got created, it got created in the name called employee detail, singular. Okay, and then inside that you have properties. What properties do you have? By the way, this is not properties actually. They are my column names. Okay, they are my column names in my database. But when it comes to C# in a class, they are not column names, they are properties. What are properties? Name value pairs. Okay, so if I have one emp ID, one name, one designation, 1 year of joining, if I have, combination of this becomes a property of a detail, a single detail. Okay, this just represents one row in your table. I'm repeating it again. In object relational mapping, one row in a table is equal to one instance of a class. Okay, an instance of a class is equal to one row in a table. Okay, I can't stress this enough, but then I've repeated it 2-3 times now. I hope you will remember this. Okay, so that's it. Our work here is done. Okay, you need not do anything else, guys. Just drag and drop your table into the object relational designer created by link to SQL class and save it. Done. Okay, so once your program is ready, now the next stuff we need to do here is you need to note what are the properties. Okay, so not inside this class diagram, outside this object relational designer, right click on it and then say properties. Okay, you will find something called as a name. Okay, which is nothing but this is the context inside which, you know what's a context, right? In English, probably we'll discuss that as a scenario or my area. Okay, so this is the data context, which means the white screen which you see below without even this table. Before that, I called it as object relational designer, which is the data context. Okay, so when you right click outside, you see that it is named as employee LTS. That is my link to SQL C# file class name, DBML file name, and then it just adds one more word to it called data context. Okay, in the context of this LTS file, the link to SQL file, you can have n number of tables. Okay, so basically what is this? This data context acts like a database. Okay, then what is this? This is not database. This is a table inside my database. Okay, let me right click on this and say properties. You will find a different name. Okay, I wanted to just focus on the word which is written here. TBL employee detail. That's the name of this particular table which you see. But what is the source of that? Which is database object, which is my DBO dot TBL employee details. I hope you guys can see this, right? So this is how we are differentiating here in link to SQL. Okay, so let me just get into the work here. So this is, I hope, clear. Let me move on. Now, how will I retrieve details from this particular link to SQL file. Let me go back to link to display.aspx C# file. Okay, so here what I'm going to do. Okay, how did I write previously till SQL? What we were writing, how did we write it? We wrote it as SQL connection space con is equal to new SQL connection, etc., etc., and then we write query, then we write the reader or adapter based on whatever technology we are using. Okay, but now we are not going to use connected or disconnected architecture. Rather, we are only going to use language integrated query. Okay, so first I need to make sure what is the target here. My target here is the grid view. Okay, I need to attach data to this grid view. So where will be the source of data for this grid view? It is going to come from a database. Okay, here I'm going to have this LTS or the DBML in the middle for me to get the data from the database. Okay, so please note what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to simply create. Okay, I'm going to create or find the source of data. Okay, if you remember the query of link to SQL, this is going to be pretty simple, guys. First thing I need to do is I need to tell from where are you getting the data. From where am I getting the data? Okay, from this code, from this line where the cursor is blinking, where is my data located? Okay, you might say that the data is located in my database, SQL Server database. No. Okay, I'm not going to talk to SQL Server database directly. Instead of that, I'm going to use my link to SQL file. What is the name of my link to SQL file? Okay, not table, guys, not this table I'm talking about. Link to SQL file. Let's right click outside and say go to properties. What is the name of the file? It is employee LTS data context. Okay, that's the name of my link to SQL file. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to write employee. Please note automatically suggestions come. Okay, so employee LTS data context. Okay, I'm going to call that same name. And I'm going to create an object of this particular class. I'm going to name it as DB so that you understand that it works like the database. Okay. So I have just put employee LTS data context. Okay. And I've given a name. This name can be anything, guys. You can give whatever you want, but I am just putting it as DB for our understanding that it is, it acts like the database. It does not actually contain data. Database contains tables. Tables actually contain data. Okay. So now, this is done. Now, from this database, I want you to open one particular table. Right now, I have only one table, but it is not the scenario, right? You can have n number of tables in a database. So, whichever table you're looking for, in that table, go and fetch everything. Okay, this is what I want you to do. But I'm not going to use SQL. Rather, I'm going to use language integrated query. How do I write that? Okay, I'm not sure what will be my return type, so I can easily use the word var. Okay, it's just a variable. It can store anything. It is the data type of object, which means you can put anything inside it. I'm going to give the name as result is equal to. I need to write a query. Okay, I'm going to write the query, guys. Please do understand how this flows. I don't have any condition here. In SQL, I would have simply written select star from table name. Okay, in SQL, I would have simply written select star from table name. But here, I cannot write like that. If you remember the syntax, it is from. The first keyword here is from. Second thing is the range variable. Okay, what do you want as the range variable? Okay, so you can give anything as the range variable. I'm going to give the keyword as, let's say, from. You can put I, like if you are familiar with how Python works, so you would have done just put from I in range. Okay, like that I, instead of I, whatever you want to give. Here I'm going to just give it as from D8. Let's say put data. Okay, from data in. Okay, you can put anything, guys. Here this word can be replaced with anything what you want. Okay, this word you cannot. This is a technical word. Okay, or a keyword here. From some name in where is the table, where is the data coming from? Okay, you have to specifically tell where the data is coming from. My data is coming from here. Please note the one which is highlighted. But how will I reach here? Through this, the outside one, which is the context. Okay, that's what I have here, right? This is my context. So I'm going to say from db dot. Okay, you should find TBL. I hope you guys follow this. All right. So I have inside that DB only one thing is there. You can notice that only one table is there. because I put the name as TBL, I can easily shorten that. You see that TBL employee details. Okay. Now the query is straightforward. From some name in collection. Where is the collection? Inside my data context. Inside that there is a TBL employee details. I'm going to write select data. Done. My query is done. Okay, so if you are not following this query, please do go back and refer to the LINQ video. All right. Otherwise, this might be different for you because I've already discussed about this in detail in the last two classes. Please do refer those videos before you start with this. Okay. So now, where is my data stored now? Whatever comes from the database of TBL employee details is now stored in result. So my next step is going to be very simple. I'm going to say grid view of employees dot data source is equal to result, whatever is stored there, and then data bind it. Okay, do not forget that data bind. It doesn't matter which technology you're using. You'll have to bind the data source. That's all. Done. Now let me run the program and let's check. Okay, here the output is come. Okay, please note, let me go back to the home page. So right now this is my home page. I'm going to click on view employees. It takes me to display.aspx, in which I had written a grid view, okay, which retrieves the data from that database and displays it here. My code is only this much. Okay, I hope this is clear to you guys. This is retrieval using LINQ to SQL. Okay, please note, I did not write one line of SQL query here. Okay, no double code, nothing. Everything is C#. So if I make a mistake here, I will not be allowed to run the program unless my mistake has been rectified. This is one more advantage of using LINQ to SQL. Okay, if it is, imagine if I'm writing this code in connected or disconnected or ADO.NET way, I'll have to write select star from table name. What if I make a spelling mistake in that table name? I'll have to run the program to find out whether that there is a spelling mistake, because it will take this table not found. Then you will go and check the spelling and then you will find out that there is a mistake. Here, you don't have that problem. By the time you finish your program, if at all any error, if the table name is wrong or anything, you can't just like that write some name there and leave it. Okay, that will be a problem for us because it will not allow you to run. That's an error because no such thing exists. So a system will understand what you're doing as you type because it is integrated to the language what you're typing it itself. In our case, this language is C#. Okay, this is language integrated query. I hope this is clear to you guys. Let me move on to the next step of inserting. Okay, so let me create another file. Let me add a new web form with master page. Let me name it as insert. Okay, so I'm going to ask with the user three things. One is the name of the employee. Two, the designation. Three is the year of joining. Okay, so let's do that quickly. I'm going to put a label first. And I'm going to change the property. I'll just say add a new employee. Okay, and I'll just change the font size. All right. Okay, so that is done. Now next step is I'm going to put a table so that by the way, this table is HTML. This is only for design purpose. Okay, so now here I'm going to say enter employee name. Second one, enter designation. Third one, enter year of joining. Okay, now I'm going to replace all these things here. So I'm going to put some ASP.NET controls. All are going to be text boxes. So I'm going to put 1 and 2 and the third one. So I have 3 text boxes. I'm not going to do validation. So I'm going to delete that last column. Okay. Or you can do it in code also. Okay, so you can just delete that last column by just deleting this particular part. Okay, so it's your wish how you want to keep it. Okay, so only 2 text boxes. Let me put 1. Okay. All right. So last one, I'm only putting one button extra there. Okay, so that I can submit or add the button, or you can also add a reset button. That I leave it up to you guys. Let me just quickly choose them and change the form hyphen control. Okay, I've done that. And the last one is that button. So let me just go and give the CSS class btn hyphen success. Okay, that's enough. So let me just go and change that important property, starting with the first text box. Okay, the first text box is going to hold the name. So I'm going to say txt name. Second one is going to hold txt desig. Okay, and the third one is going to hold txt year of joining. Okay, the last one is a button which is going to be btn add, and the text of this is going to be add employee. Done. All right, so my work here is done with respect to the design. Now let's go to the code part. Okay, I hope design you guys will get familiar with when you start working with it a lot. Okay, so let me just double click on this button and let's go to the code part. Okay, so now how do I add a new record using LINQ to SQL? So before I go to LINQ to SQL, let's do how will I do it using normal SQL like ADA.NET connection. First, what I did was I collected all these three records from the user in the form, and then I stored it in different C# variables. Then I open the connection. Then I'll have to work on that insert query, insert into table name within brackets, values, etc., etc. And then I'll have to pass single quote, double quote, single quote, double quote. That big mess will happen with respect to SQL. But with respect to LINQ, none of that is required because I'm not going to write SQL code here. I'm going to convert or understand this from a C# point of view. In a C# point of view, what is my target in this particular place? My target is to add a new row of data to the table. I'm repeating it again. Okay, my target here is to add a new row of data into the table. In our object relational mapping idea, when I want to add a new row in the table, what am I supposed to create? I am supposed to create an instance of a class. Which class? This class. Okay, so let's do that. So first, either way, whether you are using insert, update, or delete, you need the database. Here my database is that context, data context. So I'm going to create an object of that is equal to new employee LTS data context. That database should be there. Okay, then what is next? Okay, I need to create an object of what? An object of this table. What is the table name? TBL employee detail singular. Okay, I wanted to notice that. I want to just start typing TBL. Please note only one class is available, which is TBL employee detail. Okay, let me just name it as one row. Okay, the object name I've named it as row so that you understand what I'm trying to do. Okay, so new table row. Okay, I'm not creating or insert, I'm not creating a lot of data. One row I want to insert because it's an insert page. Okay, so I've created a simple object of the table. All right, so if I create an object here and I pass that object to this DB, basically what am I doing in an SQL query? Basically I'm inserting a new row. That's all. Okay, so how do I proceed further? Call that object and then say, you'll see that all your properties are coming here. Emp underscore name, emp underscore everything is coming. So I'm going to call emp underscore name. From where will you get that? From txt name, the text box dot text. Okay, one way, very simple. Next one, row dot employee designation is equal to txt designation dot text. Done. Last one, row dot emp underscore year of joining is equal to whatever the user has entered there, plus I have to convert it, remember that. Okay, so now this will be a problem because year of joining, you're expecting a number. Okay, when it comes to okay, just a minute. Oh, Sorry, I've made a mistake with the table design, guys. Okay, let me just use this as an opportunity to tell you what if I make a mistake and I have to change it. Please note, year of joining, I've put it as n car here. Actually, it should be integer. So I'm going to just change it into int now and then update it once again from the database point of view. Okay, I'm going to click on update and then click on update database. See, please note I made a mistake here. I put n car, which is by default what comes. I did not change that. Okay, but I have to change it. Now I have changed it. But if you see, my employee LTS will still tell year of joining is n car. You can see that here. It's still saying it is n car because I've not updated it with the current database. So when you right click on it, okay, so you should always make sure that this should be the recent one. So it's simple. Actually, you need not look at any other procedure. You can just delete this, okay, and then drop it once again. Let's drag and drop it once again. Same name will be there. It will never go off. Now let me check the property. Now it says int. Okay, so I've updated the data structure which is already there from my DBML file. Okay, so all these work is very simple because I made a mistake here by the data type. So I can change it and then go back and then delete it and re-add it. It will be done. Okay, now let me go back to insert. Let's see, there's an error now because I'm trying to store a number and you're saying get it from the text box. That's not possible. So I'm going to write int.parse whatever is there in that text box and then store it in that. Okay, so now by this line, this 4 lines, what have I done? All I have done is I have initialized a simple object of my table structure. Okay, and I have assigned values to that or properties to that particular object. That's all. Okay, now if I add this row to this database, okay, if I add this row to this database, basically what I'm doing in the database, I'm inserting a new row. Okay, so let me show you. And why am I not adding employee ID? Because it is auto increment. I need not bother about it. Okay, so next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call db dot table dot insert on submit. Okay, please note the method name is insert on submit. You are supposed to pass me an object of TBL employee detail. Okay, please note database dot employee details. This is your actual table name dot insert on submit. You need to pass an object of employee TBL detail. TBL employee detail. I hope you can see this here. Okay, this is what I need to add. What is the object name? Your system automatically suggests it is row. That's it. Okay, now you have added. Does it mean that it will be implemented? No, you'll have to submit your changes. Whatever changes you have done, you'll have to submit those changes. And with this, our work here is done. Okay, you can put this code inside a try catch, and if the catch block comes, then you'll have to tell what is the error. If that in the try block last line, you can just take it as to the display.aspx. Okay, so here I'm assuming that it will work properly. I'm going to say response dot redirect to display.aspx. Okay, so once your submit change, everything is happening properly, take me to display.aspx. If something happens wrong here, your Visual Studio will stop and come here. So let me just leave it there and then let's try. Okay, please note how simple the code has become if you use LINQ to SQL. No need for any, what do you call, SQL query, no insert, single quote, double quote, values. SQL syntax is not at all required here. Okay, you need not even know SQL to write this code because this is pure object-oriented programming language. Okay, so let's see. I've opened insert. Okay, let me enter some values. So let me just give Jack. Okay, 2012. Let me just add that employee, and if it was successful, it should take me to display.aspx where the latest record is inserted and it has been retrieved and shown to you. Okay, so you see that I have not used SQL at all. Okay, rather I have just used C#. It's pure C# which is running here. Okay, and I've written that query. This is why it's called language integrated query. I hope this is clear to you guys. Okay, so with this, let me move on to the next step. Okay, so insert is working and I would like to add this to my master page. I can just do it like this. Okay, I can create a copy of this link and say add an employee. I'm going to keep like this. Okay, here I need to take you to this particular page, insert.aspx. Okay, so that's it. So when you run this program, you'll have one more link which will say add an employee. When you click on it, it will take you to insert. When you finish inserting, it will take you to display.aspx. Okay, I hope you guys can understand how this works. All right, so let me move on to the next file, which is update. Let me right click on it, add new item. Okay, that's again web form with the master page. Okay, so here I'm going to name it as update.aspx. Site.master should be continued. Okay, let me click on OK, and here I am in update.aspx. Please note, since I already have a form ready, I'm now going to write that code. I'm going to copy the code from there. So let me go to source. Okay, it's not a problem of copying, guys, but then you should be very careful of modifying it also. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to aspx, update.aspx here, and then put it here. Okay, so here I need to go back to design and change everything. Okay, right now it says add a new employee. I need to modify it as update an employee. Okay, that is done. First thing, a text I've changed. Then one more thing I need to do here is I need to add one more row above. So I'll put a row above in which I'll say choose an employee. Okay, which means I need a drop down list here. I'll put the drop down list there, and I'll go to the property. I'll name it as DDL employees. Okay, and then I'm going to put CSS as form hyphen control, and followed by which I also need to make sure that there is one more important property. I hope you guys remember. Okay, so I want this drop down to be dynamic. So I need to make sure that it allows auto post back. Okay, it forcing the control to post back data to the server. So I'm going to say enable auto post back. So the drop down list is ready. Now when you double click on it, it will take you to that particular part. But I have this program has been divided into 3 parts. One, as soon as the page loads, I want to retrieve all employees and display them in the drop down list here. Okay, and once you choose a particular employee, I'm going to retrieve all his details and then display them in the text boxes below. And then once you click on submit, I'm going to update this record in the database. So for all these things, before I proceed, one more thing here is this button right now says add employee. I'm going to go and say update details. Okay, whatever name you want to give. But one more thing you need to bother about here is the ID. It is btn add, but I'm going to change it into btn update. Not only that, it is not done with that. You'll have to also go to events. Okay, there is an event called click. I already clicked that button there. So there's a method created or method signature created here. You have to delete that and make it blank. Done. So now this is a brand new form, even though I've copy pasted, but now it is like a brand new one. Okay, so our design is ready. Let me go to the code part. Okay, the code part is normally divided into 3 sections. I'll start with the first one. As soon as the page loads, I want this drop down list to be manipulated and I want data to be already there. Okay, and I don't want that to happen every time the page reloads, rather only the first time this page loads. So let me go to the code. Okay, by now I think I need not repeat why I'm writing this, but I hope you guys follow, right? So I'm going to start the entire code with a small if condition. If not is post back. Okay, if it is not a post back, in other words, if it is the first time you're opening this page, then what do you want me to do? Okay, I want you to retrieve the data from the database and then display it or put it here in the drop down list. How will I get the data from the database? Okay, so by the way, here I'm going to use another way of writing this what do you call the data context. Okay, please note I've never closed the database in the previous 2 programs. Here it is very simple as writing using, okay, you can just write like this. I can write student, it's employee LTS data context DB is equal to new employee LTS data context. Okay, I'll just explain why this I've written like this. Okay, I guess most of you are familiar with Java's try catch. Okay, and the recent version of Java has try with resources. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, if you use this block of code, it's like writing try within brackets some resource. Okay, the moment you come out of the try block, that resource will be automatically closed. Here, instead of using the word try, we are using the word using within brackets whatever you put. Okay, and this DB will not be available here. I hope you guys can follow. All right, till this line it will be available. Inside this block, DB will be alive. The moment you come out of that block, this DB will be removed from memory, which means it will not be surviving outside the scope of this block. Okay, so here we can write, let's say if I want to retrieve, right, anyway. So I'm going to write var result, or you can say data, whatever you want, equal to from whatever name you want to give, let's say data in db dot, please note the db is valid there, okay, tbl employee details select. Okay, what do you want from there? If you want everything, you can put everything. Otherwise, you can modify it into only one record or two records, whatever you want. Okay, you can just write data dot, okay, whichever you want. I just want, please note, by the time you come to this line, it already knows what is data, because you said the database is tbl employee details. It ought, this object, the range variable, already has its data. Which one do you want? If you want one record, you can just say whatever record you want. This is enough, but you can't put comma here because it is expecting only one. So how do I make sure that it takes more than one? You just put new and put that inside the bracket. I'll say data dot m underscore id. Okay, please note I need two details. One is I want an object of employee ID as well as name. Okay, that's it. Let's close it and our work here is done. So you have got all the records, or in other words, by the way, please note I said select instead of select star from. If you want star, it's very simple. Just put data. Done. This is select star from table name, or in other words, here in this context, it is select star from TBL employee details. Okay. Now, what if I want only one record? I can say, what does this code signify? It says select employee ID from TBL employee details. Okay. What about this? What I had given earlier. Okay. If you want more than one record, you have to type like this, guys. Okay. So data dot m underscore name. Okay. All right. So that is one, and so this is the result. So I've got, what does this signify? This signifies select employee ID comma employee name from employee details. That's it. Okay, so I've got the result right now stored there. My next step is very simple. DDL employees dot data source, which is my drop down list. Data source is equal to this result. Done. Then I can say dot data field. What is my data text field? Okay, and what is the value field? Okay, what is the text you want me to show? I wanted to show m underscore name. Same like previous ones. Okay, dot data value field is equal to m underscore id. Okay, and since it's a collection, do not forget this data bind. Okay, and before we proceed, you know that two records I have, all the two records would come. I would like to insert a dummy value, so I'm going to call TDL employees dot items dot insert at a particular position of 0. What do you want to add? I want to say select employee. That's it. Okay, now let me run the program and check if it works. In the meantime, somebody raised a hand, is what I saw. Is there any questions, guys? Please put it in the chat box if you have any. Okay. Right now, when I run the program, you can see that I've got two things here. Okay, so I've got select employee, then I've got both the people's record here. Okay, so please note that I have got select employee, that's a dummy value, and I open this because I've not written any code for that, nothing is happening, but I can get my employee details here. If I open the drop down list, let me go to the source of it and check how it has been manipulated. Okay, let me go to the source here. In update, drop down here. Yes, here. You see select. option value is equal to select employee. It comes as it is. Here, whatever I selected, value is equal to 100, which is the ID of the employee, and what the name user is seeing is Jacob. Okay, similarly here, 101 Jack, like that. Okay, so that is done. So let me go back to the next step. So first step is to retrieve everything from the database and display it in a drop down list. That I have done. What is my next step here? As soon as you choose that, I need that whatever your employee you have chosen, I want that particular person's employee ID. Why? Second step requires me to retrieve everything about that particular employee. Okay, so how do I do that? So first I need to go back to the design, and let's just double click on that drop down list, which means when you change the value in that drop down list, I want you to find out which ID the user has chosen. Okay, and I want that not only in this block, next block also I require when I'm actually updating the record. So I'm going to create a global variable. Okay, let's say int MID. Okay, please note this is C# way of writing. Okay, so this is not emp underscore ID. Emp underscore ID is my database. Here I put emp ID. Okay, you can keep it as cap also, not a problem. Emp ID like this. Okay, so anyway, and I'm making it as static because through various iterations or various initializations of this class, I don't want this value to be lost. Okay, so static int emp ID. So as soon as you have chosen a selected index is changed, I'm going to call emp ID and say whatever you have chosen in that drop down list. Okay, so selected value. Please note selected value is it's a string. So what should I do? Parse it. Int dot parse whatever the user has selected. Done. Okay, so what's my next step? If I have all these records, okay, I have all, the particular person's ID, I want all his details to be retrieved. How will I retrieve? Okay, let me create same thing as previous. I'll say using student DB, employee LTS data context DB is equal to new employee LTS data context. Inside that, I am going to write. Okay, so please note here everything should be inside that using. If you come outside, DB will be useless. All right, so remember that. Let me just put var result. Please note I do not know what I'm looking for here. Okay, if I know, I can put that directly. What am I looking for? I want to retrieve one person's record, one particular person's record. So how do I do that? Instead of putting var, I can put TBL employee detail. By the way, I can replace this with var also, guys. Just for your understanding, I'm writing it like this. Okay, but anyway, you can use either way interchangeably. So I'm going to give this as an object. Okay, so let me just give it as row is equal to, or a single person's record. Okay, this is equal to. I need to not initialize one because I already have it. I just need to retrieve all the record and put it here. So how do I do that? From. Okay, same again. The syntax starts with from. Okay, whatever name you want to give, data in db.tbl employee details. Here it is not stopping with select. It was not conditional here. It is conditional here. Okay, so I'm going to put where. Okay, please be very careful of what the syntax I've written here. Where what is equal to what. Okay, where data dot. Okay, please note this is the table, but this is the actual data. So I'm going to say where the data dot emp underscore ID is equal to because this is C#. It is not SQL. If it is SQL, I would have just written equal to. Okay, whatever the user has chosen. Emp ID. Select data. Okay, I know that there's going to be an error, but I'm just stopping it there. Okay, I'll tell you why this error comes, but then understand what I've written and what is the predicted output here. Okay, guys, please do listen carefully. What I'm saying right now is very essential. From whatever name you want to give, range variable in db.employee details. Okay, that is my database where data.empid is equal to whatever you have chosen. Select data. Now, in order to understand this a little bit more clearer, you need to remember what I told about deferred execution or lazy execution. This data will not be, there is no such concept called primary key in C#. In programming languages, you don't have that idea of a unique object. Every object is unique here. All right. And there is no way for C# to know that this query what you have passed will exactly return one record. I hope you guys follow, right? There is no such thing as a unique constraint on LINQ queries. So what is my concern here? My concern is that if I retrieve, see, I'm not able to store this in that particular, what do you call, object. Okay, but if I change it to var, my work will be much more simpler. Okay, when I change it to var, it is going away. But when I'm trying to put as TBL employee detail, that is the actual object. I'm looking for one object, and that is not working. The reason it is not working is because it is trying to tell you the error right now. Okay, according to C#, this query, what you have written, LINQ query, what you have written, can return. There are possibilities that it can return more than one record, and you are trying to store it in one object, which is not going to be possible. Okay, I want you to understand this in simpler terms. That's not the technical definition, but please understand it from a simpler definition here. Okay, so what query you have written, according to you, because you are a database person, you know that this emp ID what the user has chosen will surely match only one record in my table. You are very sure, but C# is not so sure that it might only match one record. So it is telling I do not have what do you call it, returns a queryable set, but you cannot convert something which is queryable into one object. Okay, when you are expecting multiple answers, you can't store it in one. Okay, so how do I fix this? All right, that is where your aggregate functions come into picture, which I have also discussed in the LINQ introduction. Okay, take this entire query and say, get me the first record. Okay, I want you to notice this, guys. What is the difference between before the error and after the error? What is the thing which has changed here? Okay, since I am very much confident that it is a primary key and there will be only one record, the first record what the system retrieves will be the only record. Okay, I hope you guys follow. All right, I'm calling whoever has register number as this particular number to a particular classroom. Okay, I'm very sure that there's only one person here, so I can just say call the first person. Okay, I hope this is clear to you guys, but probably when you work on it, you will get a more idea about it. So now I've got the first record from this query. Look at this query. What does this query say? That go to the table, fetch record. Okay, select everything. Please note, select data only I've given. I didn't say data dot anything. Select everything from the table where whatever emp ID of that table is equal to whatever the user has chosen. I am very sure only one record will be matching that particular condition. But C# is not so sure. So when I put this bracket and say dot first, okay, I get the first record, which is nothing but the only record available there. So now there is no error, and C# is very much clear of what you are talking to. Now, what is my next step? My next step is very simple. Call the text boxes. Okay, let's start with name dot text is equal to, where is it coming from? From that row. Call that row and say emp underscore name. Simple. Okay, next txt designation dot text is equal to row dot emp underscore designation. Done. Next txt year of joining dot text, that's my text box, is equal to row dot emp underscore yoj. Even though it is an integer, okay, I cannot directly put it there. I can just say toString because it has to be put on a text box. So I've just put it as toString. Done. That's it. No SQL query I have written. Okay, but I've got the data with just C# knowledge. Okay, let me run the program and check if it works. Again, I'm repeating, in order for this second part to work, you have to enable drop down list to be auto post back. Enable auto post back. Do not forget that, guys. Okay. All right. So now let me just choose an employee and check. Okay. So when I choose an employee, all his data are retrieved and put in appropriate text boxes as and when it is required. I hope you guys can follow now. So it's very simple to write LINQ queries. All right. So that's the second step. What is the third step? When you click on update, I want this to be updated to the database. Okay. So how do I write that? Let me go back. Okay, so let me write the last part of this update program. I'm going to double click on this button. Okay, it's taking me to btn update underscore click. All right, so here, what am I supposed to do? I need 4 records. I need all the 4 records: ID, name, year of joining, destination, everything in order to update my table. So how do I do that? Okay, so first what I need to do is I need to do the same code as I've done for insert, only one small difference. Okay, please note again the same formula only, guys. One row in a table is equal to one instance of a class. So what am I trying to do? I want to modify an row in the table. Okay, if I want to modify a row in the table, what am I supposed to do in C sharp? Okay, I'm supposed to modify an object which is there in C sharp. So what will be my first target here? To create that object. What is the object? The object is nothing but this. Okay, let me even type it out. Okay, so first let me get that object. So how do I get that object? I need to write using employee LTS data context db is equal to new LTS data context. Okay, inside that I'm going to create an object of tbl employee detail. So let me just name it as row is equal to from, okay, from whatever name you want to give in db dot tbl employee details, where data dot emp underscore id is equal to whatever the user has typed or whatever the user has chosen. Select data. Okay, this is showing an error. I hope by now you know why it's showing an error. Why? Because this particular condition does not guarantee that. It guarantees that in a database. In database, if I say empid equal to 10, I'm very sure there'll be only one empid with 10 because it's primary key. But there is no such concept here in C sharp. So this might also return 2 records. So how do I fix this? Take that entire program or entire code and then say dot first. Whatever you get as the first record. So now what is this? This row is not created. This is not a new instance. I'm mapping it to an existing instance. I hope you guys follow. Already there is something in database. I'm going to get that data and then create it as a already existing object. Now, what does this row contain? It contains all the details of that particular student or sorry, employee whose ID is whatever you have chosen. Now all I need to do is modify that object. So I'm going to say row dot emp underscore name is equal to txt name dot text. Okay, one. Next, row dot emp underscore designation is equal to txt desig dot text. Last one, row dot emp underscore yoj is equal to txt yoj dot text, which is expected to be converted into an integer. So I am going to put it as int dot parse txt yoj dot text. Okay, it's not over. All you have done is modified a row. You have not submitted or you have not given it back to the database. So all I need to do here right now is call db, call table inside that, and then say okay, I think we are not changing that table, but rather we have an object. So I'm going to say db dot tbl. Okay, sorry, this is just an update, right? So you can just say db dot submit changes. That's all. Okay, why am I submitting the changes? Because this table is also part of this table is part of a database. I'm just going to say whatever you have done right now, submit the changes, whatever changes I have made right now, because you have taken the name from already existing row and you have modified to whatever you have entered now, and just say submit changes. That's it. Okay, once you have submitted the change, you can take me back to the display.aspx. So I'm going to say response.redirect display.aspx. Done. Okay, so let me run. Just one moment, guys. Okay, so okay, let me just try now. Let me just change it as let me put Jacob James. Um, Let me change this to 2011 and then click on update. Okay, so if it has changed, it should go back to display.aspx, and then you see that the one which I just gave all been updated now. Okay, that's it. Update is done. You can see the employees. You can add a new employee or also update an employee. Okay, so that's it with language integrated query. Now, what about if I want to delete it? Okay, deleting is much more simpler because you just need to do this. You need to find that record, and then all you need to do is call db and then say tbl, then delete on submit that object name, and then save changes. Okay, that I want you guys to try it on your own. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Okay, so that's it for update. Okay, so as simple as doing this much. Okay, so this is the code. Please note, nowhere I use an SQL query, nowhere I need to write single quote, double quote issue. Okay, and by the time I run this program, if at all any errors are there, it should be thrown by Visual Studio itself, not by my database. My database will almost understand everything. 90% of the time, you will not find any error during runtime, only during compile time. If you fix all the compile time errors, most of the time or majority of the time, you will be running the program successfully. Okay. I hope this is clear to you guys. So that's it for CRUD using language integrated query. I want you guys to try it on your own and let me know if you have any questions. So I'll wait for some time. Please do look at the code and let me know if you have any clarifications so that I can repeat that.